Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Millionaire by Morning Podcast show. We will let you know, hey, you don't really know what you don't know, but if you listen and learn, then you'll grow. Philip J. Hawk Chan will tell you a little bit more than you need to know about futures. He'll tell you about his potential. He'll tell you a little bit more about what he's doing on his path so you will know what to do and what to pick up on. And that's what this series is about. Me and Jayhawk, this is series number 3, or is it number 4?
Maybe number 4, man. It may be number 4.
It may be number 4, but what we're doing, we're catching up. We're catching up with Philip, man, on his journey. And he's showing us what it really is about, what happens when you are really in tune, when you are really intentional about success. So let's jump into this and see where he's at in his journey. What's up, bro?
It's been a while. I'm good, man. I'm finally stationed here at home. No other place like Kansas. You know what I'm saying? And it's good, man. I was on my first ever barrage of 6 back-to-back business trips. So that was a lot. I'm going to be able to hang out here for the next month and a half or so before my next set of back-to-back travel. So it's good, man. I'm happy to be here and share with you some of the things that I learned on my travels and some of the things that I'm really excited about building this summer.
That's so cool, man. I think I want to say on the last, we let off with, you were getting into luxury last time.
Yeah.
You were going into a whole nother section of your business, and you were building, and then you were taking off to have these business meetings and basically traveling. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, man, there's a hip hop song by Wyclef from the Fugees that said, "I'll be gone to November." And what he was doing, he was telling his girlfriend or his wife, I got to go away for a while to make this happen. I cannot make it happen sitting right here stationed where I am. Right. I have to go away, and then I'll be back right before Christmas, and we can celebrate then. But till then, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, man? What's your perspective on?
Well, success leaves clues, right? And so historically speaking, anytime someone leaves their own home, their own place of comfort, they always emerge stronger. And that is where the transformation takes place. Because you got to get out of where you are you have been sheltered your whole life. You know, when you put yourself in a new environment, you're now able to not only reinvent yourself, you create a new reality because people don't know who you are. You have no reputation, right? You're like starting from a blank slate. You know what I'm saying? So it's I think one of the major commonalities of successful people is that they're willing to embrace uncertainty, and it's a muscle that you essentially you exercise through repetition by traveling, by putting yourself in new environments, in new situations that you were not familiar with before, and by getting strong in that particular muscle where you are used to meeting strangers, you're used to inventing yourself, you're used to putting yourself out there. That over time compounds, right? Because fortune favors the bold. Fortune does not favor the shy, the overtly shy, especially. You see? So when you are someone who is willing to be comfortable with the uncomfortable and allow yourself to gain additional perspective, additional viewpoints, and additional experiences, you naturally level up in life compared to everyone else. And also, it may be cool to be a big fish in your own pond, which is a small pond, but man, is it a humbling and ever growing experience when you are willing to put yourself out into the ocean and see, wow, like there's sharks and whales out here, and I'm just a little goldfish.
And when you realize you're a little goldfish, when you
Yeah.
realize that you are a little goldfish, is there supposed to be a challenge? Right? Do you look at that as a challenge that I'm a little
No, it's a
goldfish
good
that wants
mirror.
to grow to be a bigger fish? Or should I just swim in my own pond and
I
kind
think
of,
first and foremost, it's a good mirror to have. Like most people don't even have that mirror because they think they're a shark, they think they're a whale because of their little environment that they are confined to. It's like, cool, you won a state championship in high school, but it's like, what kind of, like, because even high schools, right? There's 1A, 2A, 3A, all the way up to 6As in terms of the size of the school. So if you were a high school state champion in a really small rural town of like what 3 5,000 people, right, and you actually even at that same level go see what the competition is like for schools that are more established around a bigger size population, you're gonna be like, oh wow, I didn't know something like this existed before, right? And that's just within the high school level. So what I'm saying is, it serves as a great mirror because not everyone. Let's just be real, man. Not everyone's gonna have, or there's a huge variety and a spectrum to everything in life. So when it comes to laziness, when it comes to hustle, when it comes to drive and ambition, you're gonna have the same thing. I think the first thing is that it's healthy to have a mirror so that you can develop self awareness and acknowledge and acquiesce with what is the current reality. Like some people, like I said, they're delusional and they don't even know that they're just a small little goldfish because they see themselves as a shark or a whale because of what they've accomplished in their own small little bubble.
right, right. Okay, all right. Okay, there you have it, man. So, dude, you've been traveling, right? You've
I
been
know,
really putting
man.
in the work. What have you learned over the is was it 6 meetings? Was it 6 weeks? Was it six
Yeah, no,
days,
that's a
six
great
nights?
question. That's a great question. Yeah, so I travel for different reasons. I mean, like one of them was a speaking engagement that I was invited up to speak. And as you know, we have grown in terms of our company, and my marketing team's been doing a better and better job. I'm at the point where now I start seeing, because remember we talked about this. I'm already starting to see the benefits and the fruits of my early labor in personal branding. Some of these events, right, I got invited out because and not just by a salesperson, by the actual host, because these hosts are my mentors. So over time, it's like I've been paying the price. I've been enrolling myself into their programs. I've been a successful student. I've been a successful case study. They see that I'm growing, and so now it's like, okay, kiddo, why don't you come join me at the next event, without having to pay the price of admission, without having to actually pay the ticket. So that was pretty cool, to get some complimentary invites from my mentors to some of the events that I used to have to pay to get into the room, and now I don't. Um, and so yeah, I mean, it's a blend, man. I go to learn, I go to definitely shake hands and build relationships. In person is the best for that, man. It's just I know obviously you and I we met virtually, and that can still be great in its own right. But it's you want to go back to the caveman days in terms of identifying what really works from a human behavior standpoint, right? So like as primal animals, it's the caveman, it's the primitive, it's the shaking hands, it's seeing each other face to face. That would always generate the highest form of trust. So I love going out to specific events with the right intentions, with clear intentions and purpose of what I want to accomplish. And it's always two things, man, is to learn and to network and to earn, right, through networking, whether it be getting a client, whether it be building relationships where there's referral partners, whether it be creating joint ventures. Like we're not going to leave this place called home and come empty handed, right? Like we're going to try to maximize each trip, each experience as much as possible. So, yeah, I mean, And there were different topics. I learned a great deal in regards to the venture capital space as well. On this, like, barrage of 6 trips, I learned that, speed, velocity to results, consistency of that result, and the size and the volume of that result is usually what will generate those higher than normal evaluations within Silicon Valley. Within Silicon Valley, if you're looking to, be a startup, to get acquired by private equity, to get funded by venture capitalists, like that's what ideally, the three things that you got to be able to show is how fast your company has grown, how consistent is the growth, right, and how big is the growth. So yeah, that's definitely one of the interesting things that I learned, because I'm not, in that space necessarily. We're more so in the hedge fund space. We're in the investment education and empowerment space. Trading futures and commodities, which mainly deals with the markets. So that was really cool, man.
Word. So let me ask you this. CEO update. What new did you learn? What new did you learn? What new initiatives or strategies will you be implementing more with your team that you kind of learned
Yeah.
during this time?
Yeah. Well, I'm very passionate about leadership. So in my downtime, if you're not executing, you should be training, right? So that's what I basically do. Either you're working on external things for the business, or you're working internally, like working on yourself, developing yourself, things of that nature. So for me, I always in my downtime, I do rotations of topics, and so I went back to my leadership trainings, to get additional insights on leadership, because we are growing, and I want to. I actually feel that it's more appropriate for me to now immerse myself with the more advanced leadership principles that I got exposed to at the beginning of my career, but I was like, okay, well, we're not quite there yet. But now that, I'm 4 years in, um, and with the growth of our company and our firm, I think that it's appropriate and relevant. So some of the key things that I took away, and they're like reminders. It's not like you didn't like know them, but it's like those awesome little nuggets you get from reading books and just personal development. You It's like the aha, like, oh right, like, yeah, like, duh, right? So one of the things that they talk about, and this is John Maxwell, was the law of respect. The law of respect, which means that if you want people to follow you as a leader, you gotta have their you gotta be able to have done something and achieve something to where they respect you. Because if you don't have their respect, they're not going to want to follow you. And so if you want to be a respected individual, if you want someone to be great, who is a great employee, who is a great team member, a great business partner, etc., again, it goes back to you. Like, life is a mirror. But that was really interesting, because I was like, wow, that's so true. People follow those who they respect and who they see as more ahead of them, right? And it's so great, because this is why I love success principles. It's such a universal principle, because within the luxury assets division, we talk about the importance and the distinction of being a servant versus an advisor. And this is the crux of the industry. A servant is someone who is all about the transactions only. They cannot offer you more than the transaction itself. Think about the last time you were at a car dealership, especially like a high end car dealership. Which it's like, outside of interacting with the salesperson, if they were at the Ferrari dealership, the Maserati, the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, for example, would you have a desire to hang out with that salesperson after the transaction? And the answer is usually no. And the reason is because there is a lack of respect there. Let's just call it what it is, because they simply are employees that work at the dealership. They don't own the car themselves. They don't drive those, not just one car, but they have never personally had experiences in terms of ownership with that specific luxury or similar luxuries. And that is the gap. Because when you talk about the law of respect, and in the luxury asset space now, right, we're applying that same concept to the luxury asset space. You're either a servant or an advisor, because the advisor is naturally someone who has the experience of driving that Ferrari, owning that Ferrari, and hence being able to give actual advice on, hey, this Ferrari model is better than that Ferrari, and I recommend you to maybe look at this aspect more than this. Or like, let's say if you're dealing in terms of the tiers of watches that are along the lines of Rolex, AP, and Patek, it's a lot easier once you have been operating at that higher level to service down, because that's the rule of leadership. Like if I've got a limited edition Rolex, a limited edition Patek or AP, and I'm telling you, right, because these watches can go up to six figures. So if I got like $230,000 on my wrist, it qualifies me to give you advice and sound judgment and input on watches that are like 5K, 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, because it's within the range of the asset class that I have personally dealt with. And again, that's the difference between being a common servant who does not offer any value beyond the transaction versus the advisor. Because now the advisor is able to, prior to the interaction, already come packaged with subject matter expertise, knowledge, and personal experiences. Whereas the servant is only able to offer you value in terms of serving you and helping you facilitate that one transaction only. But would you go back to that salesperson and go, hey, I have a car meet with 5 of my other friends. If you want to, you can join me because we are all meeting up there with our supercars or our hypercars, right? It's different, because now what happens is you're actually someone in the ownership space. You're someone who is living the lifestyle that actually deals with these things. And again, that goes back to leadership. It's, if you want people to respect you, you gotta take that leadership initiative to be an example first and foremost, to go through the trenches, right? That's why they say, man, if you want to recruit great salespeople, you want to recruit great people, you got to be a great business owner, right? You can't. No one who is great and talented wants to work for someone who's shitty. So the idea here is, if you want people to respect what you are doing at a certain level, then you have got to be able to be successful at that certain levels first. Right?
Let me ask you this. I'm
And
gonna break in there. I'm gonna challenge you here. I want to challenge you here. So a lot of people, when it comes down to that, they say that a person can possibly be the greatest player ever, but not the best coach. It would
that's
be
right.
a player who is not the best player who makes the best coach.
That's right.
So how do you feel
That's
about
right.
that?
That's right. Because there's a certain level of genius and at the savant level, and certain people who are like really great at what they do, but they're not great at transferring it. They're not great at explaining why they're so great. But the idea here is, it's the leadership, the following aspects. Even though they may not be the greatest teachers, because of the simple fact that they are more ahead than you, they are more successful than you in that realm, and that is the path that you want to achieve. It's, for you, you're like, man, like the proof is in the pudding, because that individual has won a championship. So you're like, okay, well, he's done it, he has the experience. So now it's, you got to get creative to go, well, how can I extract that information from him in a way that makes sense to me? So see, there's that ownership and responsibility from the student, the mentee themselves, right? Like,
Right.
you have to understand, man, proximity doesn't equal get a guarantee in success. Proximity to success does not mean you're guaranteed success. Just because you're hanging around with, like let me give you this example, right? first and foremost, success is never owned. It is a rent that you pay. Okay. So if you want to stay at the top of the mountain, you got to pay your rent every single day. Now, let's say you're on the way to the top of the mountain, and it's the first mountain, by the way. There's many mountains. The mountain is still going to be treacherous. Like, you still gotta fight you still gotta fight lions. You still gotta fight bears. You still gotta go through the jungle. You're gonna have rainy days. You're gonna have days where you don't have food. You don't have water. Whatever. Having a mentor who's hiked all the way up to that mountain, being able to give you a compass, a roadmap, information on shortcuts, information on where the best places to stay, here's the best places you can get food, helps the journey. But that does not mean the journey itself is still it's not difficult. That does not mean that the journey itself is not treacherous. Like, it may be a little bit easier because you have more information, better information, more precise information, but you still got to go up the mountain regardless. And so what I'm saying is, yes, the greatest player themselves may not be the best coaches themselves, but hanging around that person makes something that is naturally very difficult, right, still a little bit less difficult, because that's something that you have to pay attention to. Like, just because you're around Michael Jordan doesn't mean that you're automatically going to become Michael Jordan, dude. Like, but at least you get to see what greatness means, what greatness is. And then on top of that, now that you have a reference point, you got to go do the work. You got to go put the work in yourself. You got to go now craft the masterpiece that you are meant to become yourself. What I'm saying is, just because you hang with CEOs doesn't mean that you become a CEO. You see the difference? You can hang with the greatest player, but observing and watching can only get you so far. You still got to go to the court and do the drills and find your own way, right? You see what I'm saying? Like,
got to do the work. You have to do the work.
You still got to do the work. So proximity to success does not guarantee yourself that success. You still got to show up and you still got to apply it. So that's one of the things that you got to do if you don't have the greatest coach who is in his own right a champion who has accomplished great things. Well, guess what? You have the luxury of being around him. Why don't you take some responsibility and ownership and be like, you know what? I'm going to be grateful for the fact that I have this connection. Now it's up to me to make this to create something out of nothing, and to make this something worthwhile, to make this something that I can get an ROI on, right? Like, where's that mindset, right? Because the world don't owe you anything, man. You got to go get it yourself. And it's simply easier to go get it when you have reference points. But those reference points are not responsible for paying your check, dude. Those reference points do not owe you anything. Like, as a matter of fact, them allowing you to have proximity to their little ecosphere and community, it's like, they don't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? Right? And like, they are already a blessing to you, so why don't you figure out a way to maximize that blessing?
So what we're doing right here, Jayhawk, what we're doing right here is allowing that. You are a CEO yourself. You're owner. You're doing your thing, and what we're doing, we're allowing people, YouTube, podcasts, to have proximity to what it is that you're doing. You've been traveling, man, and this series is really what that's about. Like, catch up. This is where it's at. If you can follow Jayhawk, then, hey, listen, man, you have someone that's telling you the game. They're giving you the game. They're the CEO. They're the top player. So I want to ask you, man, and, for people that's out there listening, what metrics do you monitor every day as a CEO? What are things that you do? You're traveling and you're not having the same day. Every single day of yours is different. However, what is it that remains the same on every single day?
That's a good question, man. So what you want to do, right, as a high level overview concept of success is you want to have a vision, you want to have a purpose, because when you have those things, it helps fight against the thought of giving up. It is the best remedy to facing any obstacles and challenges, no matter what ups and downs you're going through, right? So have that purpose, have that vision, and be very stubborn on it. So like for me right now, my next step naturally is to become an NBA team owner, and I'm very stubborn on that. But I'm very flexible in how I get there. Okay, so be flexible, so be stubborn on the vision and purpose, but be flexible on the mechanics and the details. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you want to make sure you persevere strategically. So how I like to have my days is like on Tuesdays, for example, I completely block it off. That's meant to be an internal day, because I can also squeeze in manual bookings when I see certain things come through that makes sense. But the number one thing that I always prioritize as a CEO is revenue generating activities. And as a business owner, everything that you do should gear towards generating revenue. There are things that you're going to have to do on the back end. And then that's why what you want to do is you want to maximize your regular business operation hours, where most people are actually out in the markets. They're out working, for getting contacts with strangers, because business is a sport. The more contacts that you interact with and engage with, the more contracts you can have on the back end. It's all probability, right? It's again, that's why I love dating and entrepreneurship in terms of parallels, because if you want a spouse, you want a girlfriend, you want a boyfriend, well, it's like, well, how many people of that opposite sex have you talked to, right? Like, if you tell me you want a girl, okay, Rashad, like, how many girls did you talk to today? Did you talk to 5? Did you talk to 10? If the answer is 0, well, you're not going anywhere, right? You understand? So the idea here is during business operation hours, you want to talk to as many strangers, prospects, leads as much as possible. So marketing and sales, dude, like marketing and sales, those are my number one priority at all times. But then, there are things that you got to build, right? Like, for those who want to build a community, who want to build a course, who want to build a lead magnet, who want to build an ebook, write a book, right? Those are great things that will help improve the quality of your pizza, right? Your client fulfillment, your delivery of the goods that you promise to provide once someone has paid you. But like, you can work on those things outside of regular business hours. And that's where I think a lot of people, they get it twisted, man. They're like, "Oh, I'm busy writing this book. I'm doing this." Well, it's like, dude, market the book first. Get some proof of concept. Market the book, get people to pay you for being on the wait list of the book, and then you can get, okay, like, okay, there's interest in this book, so I'm going to actually write it now, because a lot of people, they come up with the product, they create it, and they don't even they never even gauge and assess the desirability of that product or service within the marketplace. They never got market validation of the offer, right? So like, and that's kind of 101. Once you have the offer, dude, you gotta, it's really, you rinse and repeat with these cycles: marketing, sales, client fulfillment, marketing, sales, client fulfillment. And then as you iterate, then you think about how do you create systems and processes that allow you to scale, right? So dude, it's mainly revenue generating activities. I have a pretty, I would say, routine schedule. I like to block off my Tuesdays for an internal day, so so I actually have a breather. I can manually book people. People are not allowed to book me. Mondays are what I call my marketing Mondays. Wednesdays are the days that I like to do my podcast, because that's the day that I have the most amount of energy. You do need a lot to be able to do this well, and to do this in a emphatic and impactful way, right? I don't think anyone wants to hear me talk like a zombie because I'm low energy, right? So energy management as well, knowing when you're strong, knowing when you're the sharpest, knowing when you are the best well-oiled engine to make that impression on people when you step to that marketplace, right? That's why I don't believe in the whole 4 a.m. 5 a.m. hustle, dude. It's like, if you, and I've always kind of challenged that notion. And it's certainly true now that I have business partners. See, I have a business partner who's more of a morning person. So it's like, I know, especially when he's in the States, from like 8 a.m. Eastern to basically like 5, I can count on him. But then I'll overlap it with, like, from that 3 p.m. Eastern to like 10 p.m. So it's like two shifts overlapping, right? So because in the mornings I know that he's around, certain things he can take care of, and I can just kind of hang back and relax. Now, obviously, at the beginning when it was just us two, I had to hustle a whole lot more, and I still have morning meetings when I need to. But yeah, I mean, the idea here is that I have ebbs and flows, I have structure within my schedule, and I can be flexible within it. But it's pretty much like during the day, dude, I'm focused on marketing and sales. Um, as you grow, you also want to make sure you pour into your team, right? But you can do that, like I said, towards the edges of those outside of business hours, because they're just internal meetings. Um, and then when like the business day is really like over, continuously working on yourself, so that again, when you're not doing anything external, you are working on yourself internally, going through trainings, going through programs, continuing to enhance your business acumen, your investing acumen, personal development, whatever it may be.
Dope. So dope, man. Everyone needs structure. Everyone needs
Yeah,
discipline. I think discipline is the number one thing. If you want success, discipline.
it's true. It's true. Well, discipline, because it encompasses so many things, man. Like I was just kind of thinking too, ever since I got into the realm of investments and understanding what it means to build the right kind of habits, the right mindsets. It's the intangibles, right? It's the inputs that dictate the right outputs. So yeah, like I'm definitely way more financially disciplined than I was in my 20s. I mean, when you are blessed to be in a space where you really value asymmetric risk to reward, you start seeing everything differently. Like one of the biggest lessons that I learned is, yes, it is true from the outside that when you look at wealthy people, that uh their 100K, it was like equivalent to your 10K or your $1,000, right? But the idea here is the reason why they got there is because they value their dollars like it's $1,000. And so because they value their dollar like it's $1,000, they really think hard and critically before they invest a dime in anything. It's that relationship that you have with money, though. And the relationship that they have with money is like an overprotective parent. You see?
Wow.
It's so crazy because there's what we call like the paradox of success, man. Like most people there who are successful, right? Like we wake up and we hustle because we act like we're broke. You understand? Like, so whenever I get money into my business operating account, I immediately take that bitch out, dude. I put that over and I siphon it to my high yield savings accounts, right? Because now what do I see? Let's say I just got 10K from you, Rashad, right? You just wired me 100K, right? But guess what? That's immediately gone. And now I'm like, oh, I'm back down to like 2 grand.
Right.
So what are you gonna do when you look at your bank account and it only says 2 grand, Rashad? Well, I gotta go hustle again because I even though I just deposited that other 98K, right, so that I can earn some interest or whatever, and I can store it for additional diversification and allocation of capital. Well, when I look at my main business operating account, I'm like, shit, I'm broke. I gotta go hustle again.
Yes,
So,
sir.
well, there's this paradox, right? Wealthy people are wealthy because when you wake up, you act like you're broke and you go work some more.
Right.
Poor people, they wake up and they think that they are wealthy. They act like they deserve to be wealthy. They blame everyone else. It's the victim mentality. They don't ever take responsibility. And so they're like, "Oh, I don't have to go work today. The government should be supporting me more. I should be getting more food stamps. I should be getting more welfare. I should be, it's an entitlement mindset. It's a lazy mindset. And it's, everyone else owes them everything, but they don't need to do the work.
Right.
You see that?
Right.
So what I'm saying is that paradox of success also comes into play when it comes to the perspective of the value that you put on money. Like when I
The
was more
value
reckless
of
in my
money.
20s, You know, like I would just I would give money out without thinking twice. Especially, and this is what most people do. Whenever they get paid, because most people they live paycheck to paycheck. Whenever they get paid on a Friday, what do they do with that paycheck? They immediately pay someone else first. They don't pay themselves; they pay someone else. Why? Because on a Friday, you go get a drink with your friends, you go to the bar, right? You have a good time, whatever it is you want to go out. The first thing you do is you pay someone else. You don't even pay yourself. You didn't
Right.
even put that money into a high yield savings. You didn't put that money into whatever. Like I always like to say, there's like three things, right? You get paid in your business operating account if you're an entrepreneur. You want to immediately siphon it so it gets stored into like a high yield savings account where you can earn some kind of interest. It doesn't have to be crazy amount, like 3 to 5% APY. But the goal is to not just let it sit there. You want to just use that as like your storage unit, your storage space of that capital, so that whenever opportunities come up, you can then from there allocate it to those potential opportunities, right? But you want to stratify and have proper categorization and structure, so that you can be a great manager of your own finances. And that's what personal leadership is, right? You got to be a great manager of yourself, which not only includes your habits, your behaviors, your mindsets, but then managing your finances, managing your relationships. That's why the higher up you go, man, what you start realizing is the more successful people become, they start reaching into levels of divinity compared to your normal people, because you become so much more capable, you become so much more competent, you stack so much knowledge, skills, expertise, to where you come off as no other than a god in your own realm. That's what can happen when you devote yourself to a level of excellence and a level of expertise that most people would be too afraid to. And that's why they look at you, that there's that celebrity effect of, oh my God, why are you so amazing? Well, I'm amazing because I've been intentional in building out the sculpture of a masterpiece that I am. I've been going after my own masterpiece. And therefore, when you look at a masterpiece, you are in awe. But when I look over at you, you are still just a clay and an unworked project in its origin point with its raw materials. So of course, naturally, there's nothing impressive about that. And that's
Right.
fine, but these are, like I said, these are things that you have a mirror on, so that at least you can have a reference point and check yourself, you know?
Definitely. Definitely. This is like they say, here's looking at greatness. It is what it is. Here's looking at greatness. But it takes a lot to be that. It takes a lot to be great. It does. I'm going to leave you with a question here, man, and we can wrap up. What's your biggest goal before our next interview? Do you already have a goal in mind? Because I know that you have things going on and plans set up.
Yes.
Before our next interview and what we can discuss, what's your
Okay.
biggest
Okay.
goal?
So, yeah, my biggest goal, man. So I think if I recall correctly, we're probably meeting in the middle of August, right? Like towards the end of that summertime.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping, by that time I should at least have completed transaction within the luxury assets, luxury time piece space. So what that means is I want to by that time have at least purchased a luxury timepiece and have sold that and have gone through one full cycle of a deal flow. So I wanna see if I can do that,
Okay.
because that's gonna essentially give me like a month to get on. I mean, I have a lot of trainings that I'm going through. So yeah, like the training will officially end at the end of August. So by the time I talk to you, I think that'll be like week number 6. Week number 6 is like 10 weeks total, whatever it is. Yeah. So I'll probably be talking to you during week 6 or 7. So yeah, by week 6 and 7 of that summer boot camp that I'm doing, I'm hoping that I should have at least one deal completed, minimum. All right.
That's dope.
That's what I'm
That's
aiming for.
dope. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I want to say this, and this is making this so much better, because now it's like, you know what I mean? We have a goal in mind. So
I
next
know,
time we
man. It's
meet up,
important.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and just so you
Yeah.
know, okay, so my next couple sets of travels, one of them include, and I'm super excited about this, and I'm so blessed to be able to get ahead of the curve and learn these things. But I'm attending a private event to learn all things around tax strategies, asset protection, etc., etc. It's going to be mainly, I think, around real estate. But anyways, I'm going to be hanging around with a lot of attorneys and experts in their own right about this. So remind me, keep that in the back of your head, and remind me so that you can also ask me some questions on that, and for me to
Okay.
share some gold nuggets and insights around proper
Okay.
tax strategies and asset protection execution
Okay.
plans and strategies. Okay.
Okay. All right. I was actually in Miami last week. I was in Miami last week.
Oh, what were you doing?
So I was on a cruise. I was on a 7-day cruise, man, and I went to the Bahamas and Dominican Republic and the Turks, Turks and Caicos. And so we ended up in Miami on my last day. So we went to the mall, me, my family and I. And I was at the mall. And I gotta say, I thought about you, Jayhawk. We were in there, man, and it was so many Gucci stores. It was packed, bro, because it's FIFA right now, right? It's the tournament. So it was so many people in there.
So is that what you were there for? The World Cup specifically?
No, I wasn't there for the World Cup. I was on a cruise. I just so happened to pull up.
Right.
And it was so many people there for the World Cup, watching the World Cup. Right. At the mall. But there was at the mall was so high end in Miami.
I know.
Gucci. Yeah. Burberry. It was anything that you could think of high end. And I was like, my guy Jayhawk, this is the reason he said. And where my Uber picked me up at, I was across the street from the Lamborghini dealership and the Ferrari dealership. And I was like, my guy Jayhawk say, this is where he's about to be at, and I see why. Right? I thought about you at that time, man. I'm being serious. Yeah. This is why professionals want to be here, because this is money. It's money here.
There's a lot of capital in South Florida, man.
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely, I'm glad that we talked about that point. Don't be distracted now, right? And that's why the wealthy people, right? There's two types of categories in business. You're either a consumer or you're a producer, and money flows from consumers to the producers. So
definitely,
you see all these people. I just want to let you know, man. Like, how many billionaires do you think are in there? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why most people are broke, bro. Most people are broke because they're spending most of their time being consumers and enjoying themselves. And I just want to say, like, it's not bad to have fun. I'm just pointing out the fact that, like, while most people are out relaxing, enjoying, and thinking about what to purchase, the billionaires are working on what is available for people to purchase, and they are always creating and they're always producing. So remember what you said about the CEO activities, revenue generating activities. It's either marketing and sales. That's my point, right? I'm either generating meetings, I'm talking to people, or I'm creating videos for promotion purposes, or I'm creating products so that you can get a free trial of this product or service and consume it. But you see,
purchase,
make a purchase. I'm saying is, the Steve Jobs of the world, the owner of Gucci, the owner of they're not consuming, they're creating the handbags for the people at the mall.
Oh, yeah. See what I'm saying? Definitely. Oh, most definitely, man. Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. You have to find your spot. So yeah, man, it is what it is. Hey, Jayhawk, once again, thank you for coming on. We're going to do this again. We've already got a time set up, and we will let you guys out there that's listening, we will let you know. And once again, man, make moves, make money, and make meaningful memories. That's the best that you could do. And we're going out here, and we got guys like Jayhawk coming on the channel to make you understand that this is how you can make that possible, man. Do for your family. Do for yourself. Stay healthy and get rich. Jayhawk, we'll talk to you next time, man. I really appreciate you coming back on here again.
That's right, man. I love it every time. I appreciate it every time. And let's talk some more.
For sure, man. All right, man. Till next time. We'll talk to you guys later.
You have a good one, bro. You have a good one.
You too, man.
Take care now.
Peace out.